Great to have your company, ladies and gentlemen. Blue Sunday here on the Jumper Punch channel. Paul Sebastiani standing in for Joe Lutzer. Vince Lochisano is in the house as well. David Rhys-Jones is going to join us as he usually does in a moment's time. But great to have your company here, listeners, audience members, those in the chat. Make sure you like, subscribe, share the video around. Big edition of Blue Sunday coming up here, Sunday, the 4th of August. Vince Lochisano, a very good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you, Paul. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. We've had a few glitchy technological issues. I hope we've ironed those out. But yes, thanks very much for standing in for Joe. He's on a big tour of Thailand with a big group today, so he wasn't able to do his usual co-hosting duties today. But very good of you to step in, my friend.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it. Last time I did stand in, I think we had a record live viewers. So by any means, mate, if you need me in,
yes,
you need to pump those numbers up, mate, just give me the call.
Hey, what I will do is I don't expect you to know everything we do in exactly the order that we do it. So if I happen to step in and interrupt you at times, it's probably because I'm making sure that we don't forget certain things that we normally do
we'll figure it
at
out.
various times during the show. But
we'll figure it out.
It looks like everything's okay. I think I'm getting given the thumbs up here from my lovely that we're coming through loud and clear. So
this is good. This is very good.
Big hello to all of our regular viewers. And of course, the show is brought to you by Joe's Touring Company.
Yes.
Retired Working You Tours.
You got us, Vince. I reckon.
Have you got that?
Yeah, that internet's going to be laggy the whole time, mate.
Okay.
You're kind of there, but you're kind of not.
Not with you.
Nah, that internet's about as cooked as our second and third quarters last night, mate. Unfortunately, but we'll soldier on. I'll show. I'm assuming I'll be showing
hopefully.
So we'll get that up.
That's what you've got to show.
That's the one that we need to get moving. Retired Workers for You Tours. www.rw4utours.com, and the email is info@rw4utours.com. So that's where you can find all that handy information. Yep. Vince, you got us? Is he there? I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen.
Have I got you, Paul?
Yeah, mate. You've got me, but that internet is absolutely horrendous at the moment. So anyway, live chat. Let's quickly go.
I'm sorry. Maybe
in the house. Adam's in the house. Jai is in the house. Wayne's in the house. David Taylor is in the house at the moment. Jonathan Telato, Tony Amadeo. They are all here. Lucinda as well, and DC. So welcome to you all. Welcome. Paul Mentor. Yes, Vince is frozen solid at the moment. We'll try and get that internet sorted. But anywho, how's that, Vince? Can you hear us clear now? Yep. No, he is gone. Gonskis. All right. Let's bring in David Rhys-Jones. I think we might have to bring him in a little earlier because Vince's internet, like I said, is about as cooked as our second and third quarters last night. So let's take Vince out. Let's bring David in. David, hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I pay for my internet bills.
He's on Struggle Street at the moment. How are you, mate?
Yeah, devastated, really, after last night. It was... just a very, very mediocre performance in, as you said, in the second and third quarters. And then when they, when they had to do something, they seemed to put the foot down. Instead of playing 100 minutes of footy, they continually disappoint us and don't perform for 100 minutes. And a couple of culprits in there too that I'll get to later on.
Yeah, I think it was not ideal. Let's see if we can get Vince back in. How's that? Hold on, you're on mute, mate. How's that?
I've had to swap phones.
Boys. That is 110 times better, mate.
It's a thing. It's a wonderful thing called Wi-Fi. The
Yes.
Wi-Fi wasn't connected to the other telephone, so that's why.
There you go. And I
I'm
think
sorry about that, guys.
We did make mention of it, but we're here now.
Okay.
We're here. We're ready to rock and roll.
I'll even make it better again, Paul.
Yes.
I'll even plug in my.
You're going to plug in his earphones as well. Great start. This fantastic.
How's this?
We're about 5 goals. We're about 5 goals behind, but we're just going to slowly work our way into it. All right.
We're like Carlton in the first half.
Yeah. All right. Let's steady the ship now. Right. So David's in the house.
Okay.
Vince is in the house. We're all here. We get beaten last night by 3 points. Game in our hands with a kick after the siren. Vince, I'll start. David had his little mini synopsis, but just your quick summary of what happened last night.
I assume you've read out the scores, have you, Paul?
Yep. I don't. You know what? Okay. I haven't read the scores out. I don't think anyone wants to really hear the scores, but just for the sake of it, just for the sake of it.
That's what I'd normally do. So
Collingwood 12-84 to Carlton 11-15-81. Make of it what you will. Scores are irrelevant at this stage to me, but anyway.
And for Carlton, the main goal scorers were Elijah Hollins, Jack Martin, and Lockie Fogarty, 2 goals each. The rest were singles. I won't even bother with them. And for Collingwood, their multiple goal scorers were Hoskin Elliott, De Goey, and Mason Cox, also with 2 goals each. So, as the scores would suggest, very, very close with the goal scoring as well. So, unfortunately, we're on the wrong side of the scoreboard, and could have been different if the last kick of the game had gone straight. But I guess it just wasn't meant to be. And as much as you might criticise Mitch McGovern for missing it and missing it badly, I have no doubt that he was affected by that knee to the head that he copped as he took that mark. So add to that the pressure of the situation, the last kick of the game, and all the rest of it. I think it was just a bit too much for him. It was a bit overwhelming. So you probably got to give him a leave pass, a bit of a mulligan for that kick, but. Probably would have been an injustice for us to get over the line, to be honest, because I didn't think we were the best team on the night. But anyway, I'll have a listen to what Rhys has got to say. How are you, Rhys?
David, go for it, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm good. And we weren't the best team on the night, and they just wanted it more than we did. That was basically what it was, and you could see them going harder at the ball. They attacked the ball harder. They attacked us harder. We just mentally weren't up to the game, which I just can't understand. I just cannot understand how you couldn't be up for that game. Playing against Collingwood, it doesn't matter where you are on the ladder. I mean, you've got to get up for those games. They're the ones you look at the start of the season when the fixture comes out. You pencil it in, and they're the ones you look forward to. And how our players weren't up for that has just got me beat. It's just staggering, really. And they were there to play. A lot at stake. They had Pendlebury's 400th game. They obviously he's been a great leader for them, and they wanted to give back to what he's given to the club over so many years. So that would have been in the back of their mind as much as a finals appearance. They're running premiers at the moment, and look like not playing finals. They still look like not playing finals, but gee, so do we. So do we. I mean, we got Hawthorn this week, and they're in good form. So I just keep saying, I said to a few people before the game started, we should win. We should win the game. It's it just on paper, on anywhere, we should win this game, and we don't win those games, and that's where. We get let down by a few, and I'm going to bring a name up because he continually lets us down in big games, and that's Charlie Curnow. And as much as that's going to hurt a lot of people out there, hey, big player, good players, great players play well in big games, and he hasn't, and consistently hasn't. Hasn't played well in finals. Hasn't played well in the real crunch games, and I think he needs to be told that too. He needs to be told that he can't perform in big games. He's not performing in big games, and to be at Carlton, great. At the end of his career, he could be looked at as a player who had all the ability, had everything, but just didn't perform in big games. And I think that'd shock him. I think that'd rattle him. And back in our day, the coach would tell you that. The coach would challenge you. He would give it to you. And Wolsey is one of the greatest at giving a serve like that, and embarrassing people in front of their peers. And sometimes that works. They don't do it these days, unfortunately. But
now, what do they say? We're going to get around him and
give him a cuddle,
and give him a cuddle. Yeah.
I'd give him a whack behind the ear and tell him to keep his finger out. Yeah.
So what?
No, I want to. You would with one of your own teammates. You say, look, you're too good. You know, you just got to be doing something. You're not. You know, you're just not performing when we need you. And we just leave too much to too few. You look at Cripper in that last quarter, and he wanted to win.
Oh,
yeah,
you know, he really wanted to win, and you know that goal he kicked in the ruck in the third quarter, was it? Which really lifted us. He just took the ruck. Harry was there, and he just took the ruck. And it's we got too many doing too little out there. You know, always you don't side him for the game. I mean, you have to look around to see whether he's out there at times. There's blokes out there who just don't do enough and keep getting a game. And it's I'm getting to the stage now where I'm getting sick of hearing things about Jackson Binns. Just put him in the bloody team and give him a shot. At least he's getting the ball and can get kicks. We've got too many who can't get the ball. So I don't for every negative that he's got, I'll throw 10 negatives at probably 4 or 5 of them in the team who don't get the ball enough.
What, just to segue into and go back to your discussion and thoughts on Charlie, I think it was a nice, but it's a nice segue into what Michael Voss said post game about the performance. I don't know if either of you have listened back to what he said, and I don't want to pin it down to one phrase, but when he said he was proud of the fight back, I just got this.
Yep.
I got this knot in my stomach, David and Vince. And,
I didn't listen to the end of it. I turned it off after I heard him say that.
So I don't want the club to live in the past, right? And none of us want that, right? You know, you have to honor your past by performing in the now, right? But when I heard that, I thought to myself, and I looked back and I thought, what Carlton coach and what leader at a Carlton football club would ever say that after a loss to Collingwood in such a big game? I cannot think of a successful coach at the Carlton Football Club that would say that. And I want to bring this up, right? And I know people maybe rolled their eyes at the 1970s movie and documentary that came through, and fair enough, right? But there was a poignant moment in that documentary where there was I think it was a transcending moment for the club, right? And this has got nothing to do with the 1970s or now. It's got nothing to do with a time difference or societal differences. But Ron Barassi at 3/4 time went up to his troops in that 70 grand final and said, no matter what happens from here on in this final quarter, I'm proud of you to fight back. And the players went at him and basically told him, mate, get off the ground. We are winning this game, mate. Get off the ground. We're winning this game for you. And I
think he said win, lose or draw.
Yeah. Win, lose or draw. I'm proud of you.
I'll be proud of you. Yeah.
And the players went at him and said, mate,
it's not over yet.
He said, they said to him, get off the fucking field, mate. We're going to win this game for you. We're not proud of the effort so far. Yeah. So my fear is that there is an acceptance of it within these players. And my fear is that there would have been no player in that post-game review straight after the game in the rooms that would have turned and flipped the narrative and said, nah, Vossy, mate, this is not. I know you might be proud, but we need to come out and be so much better against Hawthorn. My fear is that nobody said that.
Do you reckon John Longmire would have said he's proud to his players after the Swans performance on the way? I mean, he come out and actually had a go at him. You know,
Yeah.
he's said it as it is, and you can't be kind if you want to win. You know, you can if you are winning, cuddle them as much as you want when you are winning, but you need to be hard on them when they're not. And that performance, some of the efforts were just not up to it. You could see in the second and third quarters that Collingwood wanted it. They wanted it more. For a number of reasons, but geez, we had bigger. We had as many good reasons to have to win that game. A top 4 spot was on that. You know, was sitting there waiting for us, and you know, we blow it. We just and then it's the lack of effort and just the ease in which the opposition can take us apart. I mean, we keep getting told we've got one of the best forward lines in the competition. Well, we can't score. How can you have one of the best forward lines and you can't score? Yeah. You know, guaranteed the ball wasn't coming in that great, but you know, 1 goal late in the first quarter didn't help. But gee, you know, you've got to play 100 minutes of footy. You just got to play 100 minutes. So I'll leave it at that, because if you're not prepared to play, you know, and give your all for 100 minutes, then give it up. Let someone else in.
Vince, what's your deep synopsis on the game last night?
Well, I think last night was a massive test for our football team. I think they talked it up during the week. I think Sam Walsh came out and had an interview with or a press conference and said, we're pumped for this game. And I didn't see that the team was really focused and hungry for that sort of result. I think they were actually quite timid for the first 3 quarters, and it was only when they were in a position of, oh well, what the heck, let's just go after this. And they probably smelt that Collingwood just went into their shells a bit and got a bit defensive and were trying to protect their 5-goal lead. That all of a sudden we smelt blood and went after it. Now, where was that beforehand? We were playing safe like we did the previous week. There was no dare, or very little dare. I mean, I thought Collingwood probably took the corridor away from us more than we did from them. And and I've got to say, we were absolutely smashed in the ruck. Darcy Cameron, to me, was the most effective player on the ground. He had a blinder, and Mark Pitnet had an absolute shocker. I think that had a big difference on the result. I think we failed a massive test last night, both mentally and from a game plan point of view. I thought we were out-coached, and not enough players stood up. It was yet again another case, and we've said it here week after week on Blue Sunday, too much is left to too few. And Patrick Cripps, as Rhys said, he seemed to want it, but how many others looked like they were out there really, really, really wanting it? You just shake your head at how few players step up when it matters most. And, you know, Charlie Curnow, I was waiting to see whether you'd say anything about Charlie Curnow, Rhys, because, frankly, you know, he's that talented that he's still up the top of the Coleman race, or at least in the top 2. But he's as you say, he hasn't performed in the big games, and until he does it in finals, I don't think that monkey's going to get off his back. What I'd like to do, Rhys, is ask you the question: what is he doing wrong, or what is he not doing right? Because from where I sit, I just think he doesn't run and exert himself in a way that imposes himself in areas of the ground where it's going to matter most. He almost looks like he's looking for the easy kick. He's not actually presenting in the most hot spots on the forward line in order to compete for the ball. And I don't know, between him and Harry Mackay, they had 1 goal. It was that 1 goal with 2 seconds to go in the first quarter that Harry dribbled through, which was a very clever kick. But nevertheless, you know, it's hardly what you'd call a big man imposing himself. That's the sort of kick you'd expect from a small forward pocket. But between the two of them, 1 goal for the game. And yet we came within 1 kick, a straight kick, of winning it. And it's almost a replica of the first time we played Collingwood this year. I think it was in round 8, where, again, we played pretty poorly, but with 1 minute to go, the scores were level. And as we know, Nick Dacos got that kick forward of the ruck contest and kicked the goal and won in the game. And it was almost another case of that, except a slightly different set of circumstances. But yet again, Collingwood won the game, and a lot of people might say, oh, well, it was justified for Scott Pendlebury's 400th. I couldn't care less. I would have loved to have spoilt the party. But now, instead of being in the top 4 and well entrenched, we are now on the brink of losing our spot in the 8. If we lose to Hawthorn next week, and Essendon happens to knock over the Gold Coast, which, by the way, the Gold Coast just don't seem to want to win away from home, even against West Coast on Friday night. They lost. You'd have to favour Essendon in that one. We could very well find ourselves out of the top 8 with only 2 games to go.
Conversely, it could be the other way around too, couldn't it?
Yeah. But all I'm saying is we're only one loss.
Season,
we're only one loss away from losing our final spot altogether. Forget top 2. Forget top 4. I mean, 5 weeks ago, we were 10-4. We were 10 wins and 4 losses. Second
game and a half
position
clear
on the
in
ladder.
second.
Yeah, looking for all money like we were going to finish top 2, and all of a sudden we have. I think it's 6 weeks now. We've lost 5 out of our last 6, and now we're 11-9.
Yeah,
and on the brink.
And
so I don't know. There's a lot of questions that got to be asked.
And it's got to be asked for our midfield as well. I mean, they're going to take some responsibility too.
Yeah.
And
Cripper
and Walsh are part of that because we were getting when Collingwood were on top, that's where they were killing us in there. And you did mention Cameron. I thought he had a terrific game. He was the best, big man on the ground by a mile. And Pitnet's been very disappointing. He's got a great opportunity to stamp himself into the team and just either he's not up to it or he's not playing well. So
and really, other than DeConning and maybe Zach Williams coming back, there's not too many other players really that you would put back into your best 23, is there? Really, other than swapping DeConning for Pitnet and bringing Zach Williams in for maybe someone like, I don't know, who played last night that you'd replace him with.
Maybe a Motlop, potentially.
Maybe a Motlop, maybe, I thought Lockie Fogarty was pretty good last night. I thought Jack Martin did pretty well for his first game back. Yep. But anyway, you'd probably leave out someone. It might be Matt Owies. It might be Motlop. I don't know. But you'd bring Zach Williams in for one of those 2.
Yeah.
And so other than that, we were almost full strength last night. We were 2 players short of being full strength, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, look, we did lose 2 players during the game, and then Charlie went off in the third quarter.
He came back pretty soon after.
Yeah, he was off for a little bit, but that's as much time as you have for a rest anyway. So it didn't make much difference.
What I wanted to so went and watched the replay early this morning. As soon as I got home from the G. So did post footy talk back with work, which was a good laugh as always. But went back and watched the replay and just tried to take the emotion out of it all, which it's difficult to do, right? So just looking at this game purely based on the performance, looking at the way the game panned out and trying to view it as a neutral, right? And analysing it that way. Was this game just a simple case of one team capitalising their moments when they were on top? The other team didn't capitalise in its moment in the first quarter, and that was purely the difference at the end of the day. Because my take is that we started really well. I was really happy with the way we started and the way the game state was situated. It was played in our front half. We had multiple opportunities, and I thought to myself, okay, all right, we've kicked 1 goal 8. Fair enough, right?
Start again. 14-14 at quarter time. Start again. But
get into that mold of, boys, if we keep doing what we're doing, eventually math, science, probability, eventually the scoreboard will tick over, right?
Yeah.
My concern in those moments is that when it doesn't go your way on the scoreboard, right, what is the messaging and what is the rhetoric and what is the communication of our line coaches, our head coach, and our leaders? How does that all trickle down to what happens on the field in the second and third quarter? Because to go from what we produced in the first quarter game state-wise to what we produced in the second and third quarter, for me, it is on messaging and what is reinforced during those breaks and during those moments where Collingwood have momentum up. What is being said? How is the messaging how is the message being reinforced? And clearly something is not getting through in those phases, because for it to go from what it was to what it turned into in that middle patch of the game, there's a clear stopgap with communication and what needs to be done, because we go into our shells, and we've seen it happen too often in the last 5 weeks.
Can I say something about the way we play? And we try and play pretty football. We try and have it all connecting. We don't play a kamikaze style or anything. When you know, I mean, we look great. I think we can, you know, we can pile goals on. We get a good football team.
Are we trying to be something we're not, David? When we try to control and
try, that's what I'm saying. We are trying to be too pretty and too cute,
too precise,
of being hard nosed and hard at it, and just take risks and run with it. Because if you want to win a flag, that's what you got to do. You got to take risks. You got to run. You just have to give your all the time. But we seem to have this way of playing, and the way we just kick the ball, you know, we just bomb it down the line or bomb it down the forward line, and it's just so easy for the opposition. I was talking to bloke, because I was in the MCC committee room last night, and I was talking to one of the blokes who actually Barry from Melbourne beside me, and I said, have a look at the way we bring the ball, you know, down the ground. It's slow. It's not pretty, and it's so. I said, if I was a backman, which, you know, I played a bit on the back line, you know, towards the end of my career, I would have loved playing against Carlton, because you just sit yourself back there. You know they're going to kick it long. They're not going to take risks. It's just going to be so easy back there, and they just had Jeremy Howe sitting back there as a loose man. Just roaming around down there. It was easy for them, and no wonder our forwards aren't kicking goals. Our two big blokes, because we don't get it down there. You get the ball down to Harry Mackay or Charlie Curnow in a one-on-one situation, and they're gonna be hard to beat. They're going to be very, very hard to beat. That's what you need to get. Why don't we get it? We don't get them on one-on-ones. We get them kicking the packs or 3-on-1s or whatever. Where are our other players? Where are the other players who are loose? You know, if there's 3 blokes on Harry or a couple on, you know, or 3 on Charlie or whatever, where's our other players? And what are they doing? We have too many blokes waiting back for easy kicks across the ground, running up to get a little chip kick, and at the end of it, they have to kick it long. So you chip your way down the ground, and then you got to kick it long, and it just makes it easy for the opposition. Get the ball, and then the opposition get the ball and run with it, and handball and share it, and take risks, and you know what they do? They kick goals against us because we're opened up.
But haven't we been saying it all year, Rhys, about our small forwards? They just don't do what really good small forwards do. I mean, they never hit the pack at pace and rove off the pack. So if there is a contest for the mark and it spills either at the front or the back or the side, they're not there to get it. And they're not there to run away from that pack. They seem to be flat-footed and hoping that the ball lands in their lap. And half the time, even if it does, they're flat-footed, so they get tackled.
They're probably running their patterns, that's why. They're
running patterns.
I know you've spoken.
They run to where the bloody ball is, and you use your brain to work out where it's going to go to. Eddie Betts would have a field day in that forward line. He would just absolutely love it.
What
and,
I think
most small forwards would. That's why Williams went down there and was kicking goals. He's a smart footballer. Correct. You know, he's smart. He's getting to the right spots.
Yeah.
And, so anyway, we've got a lot of dumb footballers. yours.
For me, a lot of the issue is, and I know people harp on about our smalls, but I look at our points against this year, and we've conceded out of the top 9 teams, our points against, it's the second worst, right? So in the competition, we are one of 1, 2, where there are only 3 teams in the competition that have scored in excess of 1,900 points this season, right? Us, Sydney, and Brisbane. For me, it's defensively and the way we set up defensively. So when I talk about defense, David and Vince, I don't talk about defenses in the back 6 or 7, right? The back 6 or 7, I think, they've held up well considering what's happened up the field. My concern is that we are not defending high up the ground enough. And that's been a problem for us the last 5 or 6 weeks, because we haven't been able to play front half football for long enough. And the best form of defense in the modern game is to keep the ball in your front half, because it's away from the opposition goal and you will get repeat entry. And you saw the way we played it. Collingwood had very minimal opportunity in that first quarter, right? Collingwood had very minimal opportunity in that last quarter because we were able to win that field territory battle and keep it inside our front half. The thing that disappointed me the most last night, Charlie and Harry, this was your moment. When are you going to take it? When are you going to take it? You look through the numbers. Cripps, big numbers. Walsh, big numbers. Newman, big numbers. Hewitt, big numbers. 24 inside 50s to 8 in the last quarter. Granted, a few may have been shallow. And I know Charlie went off for a bit. Harry getting out-muscled and outdone by Billy Frampton. David, he's 202 centimetres and 100 kilos, mate.
Yeah.
Get angry.
And Harry does that. He plays for free kicks.
But get angry. Throw an elbow into the side. Get physical.
You know, be a big man. Don't be a bloody wimp. You know, but Harry does that on occasions. I mean,
nice, mate. They're too nice. I thought we were past that. Our footballers last night were too nice. They were too nice for too long.
He gets that bump and he'll play for a free kick and hit the deck. That's crazy for a big bloke. I mean, you want your big bloke to show a bit of authority out there and be a man, be a strong man who's going to, put his body on the line for his small blokes. Yeah. I mean, geez, you reckon Mark McClure or Stephen Kernahan got shoved around like that? I mean, they put their body on the line and that's why the small forwards were able to work off them. And know, they knew what they were going to do. They weren't going to hit the deck when they copped a bump. But that's been happening. But that's something that the coaches have got to get to them and say, you're a big, strong man. Don't do that. Don't fall over. The umpire's not giving you free kicks. You look bloody weak. It's no good. We look weak because of that. Don't do it. And that's what the coaches need to say. They won't say it because, Harry will be in bloody therapy for the next 3 weeks. So.
Just the one thing, don't get dominated by your opposition or your direct man. Do not get dominated by him. And look, I don't mind if we go long up the line, right? I don't mind it. Look, teams these days, every single team, 70% of the play is long up the line, right? It just happens. My frustration last night was when we went long up the line in that second and third term, how many contests did we win? 0. We couldn't even halve a contest. That was the biggest bugbear of mine last night. If you're going to go long up the line, at the very minimum, halve the contest, right? And to me, that is all. It's what's instilled at you in training. It's what's instilled in you when you go into that game. And those little moments, when it becomes a game that is just such a fine margin at the end of the day, those individual moments have so much more bearing on the final result. And that was the difference. The difference at the end of the day for me, Charlie and Harry did not stand up in these big moments last night. And you look at the score, all they needed to do on their end was kick their average and we win. But that was not the case.
Yeah, that's the way they played the game. They played. We're so predictable. Teams have worked us out. They've worked us out and had us worked out for a long time. Teams have actually worked us out, and we've been able to beat them anyway because we're better than them, and we've got, we've got some real A graders in when you look through our list, and that's what should be winning us more games than what we are. We just haven't got players in there with a hard edge. We need a Maynard type on our back line who's going to just have that hard edge. We don't have one. We don't have anyone. Put someone in there who's just got it. That's what they need to go and find. And they need to trade and get certain types of players into our team, and just with that hard edge or a bit of unpredictability or so on. Because the ones we're keeping at the moment are just not. They're playing a role, but they're not showing any of their natural flair themselves because they either haven't got it or they're not allowed to show it. They're restricted in the way they're being told what to do and where to go and where to run and what to do. So, just don't know what's happening, but it's going to be a wasted season. I mean, the windows. I mean, we haven't even got a window at the moment. We've got a door, and the door's closing. The door's closing on us. So, we're going to waste a bloody good list of and very talented footballers. Through a number of reasons, and then it's got to come back to recruiting as well because we haven't got the right type of people in there. We got blokes that getting injured all the time. Cherry's gone down again with another hamstring. I mean, we got a revolving door of players going in and out with hamstrings and soft tissue injuries, and soft's a word I don't want to use, but that's a word that's being bandied about Carlton at the moment. We are a soft football club,
and in the last couple of weeks, the most notorious of players who get injured all the time got injured again. I mean, we saw David Cunningham go down with a shoulder injury last week. He's out for the rest of the year. And then Marchbank got an injury in the VFL yesterday. Yep. And he's now gone, I think, for at least
Cottrell's done a shoulder.
Cottrell's now done a shoulder. Cherry's done his hamstring Cherry's done his hamstring for probably the 11th time this year.
That's frustrating, and players coming in and out of the team. We've had no, I spoke about not being able to be settled, and you need to be settled, especially coming into finals. You want everything settled down, and the same 5 players around you who you're used to playing with, week after week, and you don't need. And we've had 4 and 5 changes for the last probably 5 or 6 weeks. It's just
every week,
rotating, a lot of players in and out, and it just hasn't really helped us. But
1 second, let me get rid of that.
There we
go. We can do that actually. We can break things up a bit here. Yeah, make sure. I was actually just going to interject and actually say that we need to like, share, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, give us a like.
Anyway, so make sure you give us a like, subscribe. Share the video around. We've got 85 people watching live at the moment, so big shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll get rid of that in a moment. I've got another graphic that we're going to show very shortly. Are you on a time restraint, David, or are we? What time are we going up to?
A little bit, but I'm worked up a bit at the moment.
Reece insists that we get off by no later than 11 o'clock tonight.
No, I thought you meant tomorrow morning.
No, we normally try and get Reece off at about 1 hour in, roughly.
Around
about the 8.
We're going along nicely. There's going to be no slides because it's just going to be all of us talking, but.
Yes.
You know what? I actually don't mind that after a game like this. Sometimes it's just good to have a powwow with everybody. So keep the live chat going. Appreciate all the chats that are coming through. Keep the likes up. Keep the subscribes up, the subscriptions, and share the video around. All right. So the result was what it was. Now the question is, we have 3 weeks left in the home and away season, and it is very tight. Can they turn it around, David? I'll start with you. That's the question. That's the question. Can they turn it around?
Yeah. We're playing 3 teams who early in the season, I looked at the finals and I thought, geez, you don't really want to go into finals of 3 easy games. This is after about 5 or 6 rounds of the season. those three would well down the list, sort of thing. Eagles, Hawthorn, and St Kilda. We are going to take in much better football teams than all three of them. Yeah. We're going to, even with the injuries and so forth, we're going to have better footballers, better players, and the difference is going to be that they know how to beat us, and we can still beat them because we should be better than them. But that's got to come with effort, and it's got to come with a bit of dare and a bit of risk. It's just got to come with it. And footy smarts, just take the game on. Take the game on. Treat. When I got to Carlton, Carlton was considered arrogant. And in some ways you were, because you could be, and you think you're better, you're better, you push them aside, you treat them as they are, and the lower teams never beat us. We very rarely got beaten by weaker teams, and we'd go out and play for each other, and we'd take the risks and put our body on the line, and that's what this team needs to do. And if they start doing it, the season hasn't finished by a long shot.
No,
this season. No. You have a look. You have a look going back 4 or 5 weeks. They're calling for Beveridge's head. Luke Beveridge's head was on the chopping block. They'd be nearly favourites to win the. They're playing
at the moment
as good a football as anyone at the moment.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
them and Brisbane go into the. At this point in time, but you go back 4 or 5 weeks, the Swans were unbeatable. You go back before that, the GWS were considered.
Shaky.
So, it changes. It changes over the course of a season, and we need to pick it up and go from here. And that's what we can do. We've got a great opportunity. Hawthorn, while they're playing good footy, they got a lot of kids in there. They got a lot of, they're going to be up and down a little bit, even throughout the course of a game. So you got to take advantage of, and you got to have that killer instinct. You just got to go, put the knee on the throat and just keep going. You got to belt these teams over the next 3 weeks. Go into the finals with good form.
Yeah, exactly right. Vince, can we turn it around? What's going to happen?
Look, the opportunity's there for us to turn it around, and it's not too late. I mean, it's never too late to change course, but there's got to be a mindset change here. I mean, I can't help but think that this is nothing to do with physical. It's all to do with psychological. And I
agree. 100%.
I just think it's got to be a mindset that they go into the games with a more attacking and daring and aggressive mindset, because we've looked timid at times in the last few weeks. I mean,
why? I don't understand.
I don't know why. There's no dare. There's no dare anymore. Where's it gone?
What I don't understand is that we've been through the doldrums. We've been through the rubbish. What? I don't understand. What are they scared of?
Well, do you remember this time last year? I mean, we went into that bye. I think we'd beaten Gold Coast just after we lost to Essendon. After we lost to Essendon, we were at rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
And then even after the first quarter against Gold Coast, I thought, oh, God, here we go again. Something clicked. I don't know what it was, but something clicked. And all of a sudden, we had a 9-goal quarter. And from that point in time onwards, for the rest of the year, we looked like a totally different team. This year, we look more like the team that was the year before that, because in that year, I think we had 8 wins and 2 losses going into round 10. And then all of a sudden, we had 8 weeks of win, then lose, then win, then lose, then win, then lose, and win, then lose. And I think we got to 12 wins and 6 losses. And then we lost the last 4.
Yeah.
And went to 12 and 10, and we lost our position in the 8 only in the very last game of the year. Now, we're looking more like that team at the moment than we are looking like last year's team, because last year's team at this stage of the year was looking everything that we want them to look like now, but we're just not doing it anymore. I'm not sure why. I don't know what Voss has got up his sleeve, but I just wonder whether he's got anything up his sleeve other than his plan A of contest and pressure. But you can say contest and pressure every week if you like. but every other team's producing contest and pressure against us.
Mm.
And, they're even kicking goals on turnover. They're kicking goals on stoppages. And we used to be masters at that. We're not doing that as much anymore.
Mm.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, look, for me, everything for me is it has to be evidence-based, right? And the evidence there was there last year, right? And opposition teams are going to figure you out all the time, right? So you're always adapting and you're always on the fly and you're always trying to find different ways to get a competitive edge, right?
Yeah.
But for me, the most frustrating part of this year in this patch has been we've had this opportunity. We know that they're good enough talent-wise, but something is just we can't bust through that brick wall. We just haven't been able to go on these runs. And the problem for me is, and this was a question I had at the start of the year, right? And maybe you can answer this too, David. I don't know if you were ever in this phase when you were at the football club going into a premiership winning year. How will this group and this core group of players deal with the weight of expectation coming off a very good season results-wise, almost getting to a grand final for the first time as a core group? How will they deal with that expectation? After the Essendon game, right? Sorry, after the Geelong game, we all thought, okay. Then after the Essendon game, we thought, oh, okay, something's clicked here, right? That there's been a weight of expectation prior to the season beginning because they've performed well. This is the first time those two things have married up together. How will they deal with it? To that point, we look like world beaters. We got to a position where we were 1.5 games clear in second. The question gets asked again. There's a chasing pack, right? Little bit of adversity in the GWS game. How do you deal now with the weight of expectation, given that you're in second spot, given that teams are now starting to come for you? How do you deal with that? We don't know because the group has never gone through it. We've seen how they've dealt with it. They've gone into their shells more often than not. So I'll ask you, David, was there a point in your career at Carlton, right, where there was a stage that you'd performed so well as a player, the weight of expectation was there because you had performed well? How do they deal with it and how do you deal with it? That's the big question that needs to be.
Well, it all comes down to your leadership and that's not just your captain and your coach. It's your leaders, your blokes who want to lead by example out there and grab young blokes by the arm and drag them along. Weeders does a great job in the back line.
Yes.
I'm not too sure what his communication's like back there and that. I mean, as I said, I'd love to have a bully down there, a bloody bloke who gets and bullies a few. You see Newman trying it and he gets under their skin at times and good on him for that. But you need, someone who's going to, sort of worry players.
Clearly you don't think that McGovern or Kemp tick those boxes, Reece? They're just not enough physical presence on the ground?
No physical presence at all, really. But look, McGovern, I think McGovern's a good footballer. I think he's going to be a key to us if we do.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I said last year, I said McGovern and Jack Martin are really going to be the two keys in one forward, one back who can just offer us something a little bit different we just
you're looking for a Val Perovic or a Peter Dean or someone like that who can really exert some physical presence on the ground. That's what you're looking for.
You need people who are going to worry the opposition and be there. It's just makes sense. I mean, you just gotta really want it, and you gotta play hard for it. You just I mean, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and that's in life. That's just not in football. But we I don't know. We just seem too predictable. We're just we'd be easy to come up against. It is probably the easiest way to put it.
Yeah,
yeah. We're just an easy team to play against because we're so predictable in the way we play.
Yeah.
And you just got to stop a few and limit their effectiveness, and you got us on toast, you know. So you know, but if they, you know, I mean, we need Cripps having a magnificent game, you know, playing one out of it, you know, or Harry, you know, or Charlie sort of taken over. You know, Walsh is, you know, I think Walsh is carrying an injury, but I still love the way he goes about it. He tries hard. He's not near the player he was when he come back early in the year. He's struggling a bit just with everything at the moment. So not able to break away in that, which is a shame. But we need to just get more out of everyone, and basically you all got to be part of it. You just got to come along, you know.
Yeah.
Come along for the ride, you know, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, there needs to be a common goal. Vince,
can I just pose a question to you, gentlemen?
Of course.
If that kick from Mitch McGovern happened to go through the big ones, would this discussion be exactly what it is tonight, or would we be saying how wonderful, what a wonderful fight back, and how gutsy and gritty our team was, and how you know, geez, you know, aren't they all fantastic footballers? I mean, it does make you wonder whether we're all doomsdayers or whether we're looking at the glass half full or half empty. I look at it this way. I don't think that on the balance of what I saw last night that we deserved to win the game. I thought they were the better team. They had it on their terms a lot more. Yeah.
If we'd have won it, I would have come on.
We would have pinched it.
Said, geez, we are the luckiest team.
Yeah.
And we're winning games by our ability, not by our tactics, not by our. We're just winning on ability, pure ability. We're dumb footballers. We play very basic, predictable football, and that's what I would have said. And we're lucky to win the bloody game. You know, it's as simple as that. I would have had to go at Charlie Curnow again for, you know, not playing well in big games, and he you know, letting us down consistently in big games. You know, I mean, they're all facts. They're all the facts.
Yeah,
of course, they are. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't have come in and said, oh, you know, I'll put it this way, I would have loved walking out there instead of listening to that bloody Collingwood theme song and
of course,
blaring and whatever, and would have been good to shove it up them. But that would have been the only that would have been the only joy I would have got out of it. That would have been.
And let's not be blinded to
seeing those Collingwood supporters, you know, walk out without a smile on their face.
Let's be honest, though, guys. Can I just say one other thing, Paul? I think all of us had a fair bit of confidence, and more than just quietly confident, I think quite openly confident about our chances against Collingwood going into this game. Now, that would have been on the back of not necessarily our form, but the fact that they'd only just really beat Richmond by 26 points or 29 points?
They've been stinking it up.
And before that, they lost their previous 4 games. And let's be frank, we should have beaten them based on the evidence that we saw about Collingwood. I think there was no doubt.
They're not going to make finals.
I was in no doubt that they would rise to the occasion for Pendlebury, that they would absolutely give it their all. And I think they did. En masse, they did that last night. And to their credit, you know, they managed to get over the line for him. And you know, a lot of people that are not Carlton supporters would probably say that justice prevailed for such a great player. And look, credit to Scott Pendlebury. He has been a sensational player for a hell of a long time.
But
19
you're well
seasons.
Aware of that, Vince. You're well aware of that.
I know. And going into it, you've got to be aware of it.
You know that all week that they're going to be up for it. You know what you do? You're up even more for it. You're right up for the fight.
But the other thing I was going to say was, despite their poor form, you also know you're playing a proud club who are a traditional rival. They hate our guts. They are the reigning premiers. They can't be too bad. They're not as bad as what Richmond and North Melbourne and West Coast are. They are a better team than that. And if they rise to the occasion, they're going to be a heck of a challenge. And I don't think we met that challenge for the majority of the game. We did not rise to the occasion like they did.
I still don't think they'll make finals.
Probably not.
we might miss. You know, they got a tough run in. I think they got Swans, Brisbane.
Yeah.
And another one.
Swans in Sydney, Brisbane in Melbourne, and then Melbourne in Melbourne. Yeah.
Melbourne. So they're not.
They're no guarantee to win any of those.
No, exactly. So and they're still out of the 8. They're behind us. So you know we can drop out. So you know the way it is at the moment. But I think the disappointing thing is that we as supporters had a lot of hope for this year.
Yeah,
a lot of hope, and
especially with the position we were in. After that patch of 5 games, and that's what I said is the most frustrating part of it. We've had the opportunity of a lifetime, and look at what teams are doing around. Everybody's slipping up, David. Everyone's slipping up.
Yeah, including us. Yeah, and this is a time to, you know, to just play good, solid football. You know, just hard at it stuff. You know, and we're playing dumb footy. We just play dumb footy. We kick down the line. We bomb the ball to each other. We, you know, make it easy for the opposition. We don't do anything different. And
Righto.
Can I ask you one last question before we go on the votes, Paul?
Yes, go for it. I was just about to get to that.
I wanted to ask Rhys one more question, and that was from a coaching point of view, or a you know, from the point of view of making moves or anything like that during the game. Is there anything you think that Voss could have done, failed to do, things that you would have done that you didn't see any evidence of? Anything from that? Like, how much responsibility does Michael Voss have to take for where we're at right now after the last 5-6 weeks?
To be perfectly honest, I was absolutely staggered when Cincotta didn't go to Nick Dacos in the first quarter. I mean, that's just, to me, dumb coaching. Let him run around and do whatever he wants to. You know, I mean, it's, I don't know.
Did Dacos really have that much of an impact on the?
Well,
in the first quarter,
I thought Hewitt did a pretty good. Hewitt was getting on him on a lot of those. Ball ups and so on, and I thought he did a pretty good job as well on him. So, but Cincotta was the man to go to him, just to let him know. It's just it gets in your brain. I've got, you know, I'm going to have the hard tag. You know, I haven't got time to get off the leash. You know, he is able to run forward. He created a few goals for him, and
I think we missed a trick not sending him to Pendlebury just quietly.
What, Cincotta?
No. That would have sent a message.
You mean Cincotta to Pendlebury?
No.
In that game, I'm just to send a message to them.
You send your tagger to their best player.
Yeah.
You know,
no, I agree with that.
There was a chain of hand passes that I think started with Nick Dacos. It eventually got to Pendlebury and via another player. I can't remember the other player, but it ended up going back to Nick Dacos, and he kicked that goal in the first quarter. That set them alight. That's what set them on their way. I mean, that passage of play was quite brilliant to watch.
Cincotta goes to Bobby Hill, and you're sort of looking at their team, and you're going, well, hang on, why is Boyd in there then? Why did we bring Boyd back? You know, Boyd was the one to go to Bobby Hill, really, and then Cincotta to do but I don't know. I scratched my head at the selection and
anything else, Rhys, apart from Cincotta? Anything else apart from Cincotta? Was there anything I think in terms of like making a move from one of the defenders to go up forward, or vice versa, or anything else?
No, I don't. No, I think we're locked in with what we've got at the moment. But I just think we need to.
Like maybe even throw Adam Saad in the middle and get him to run through the lines a bit. Just break up the play a bit. It's just
we need pace.
To me, there's no dare.
We need to get Saad on the ball so much more. Yeah. He is criminally underused. Underused.
Well, the one thing is he's one of the few who's got pace in our team who can break the lines, and we got we look slow very often. It keeps getting brought up week after week, you know, and that's only because the opposition have got quicker players than we have, you know, and that comes from recruiting as well. But we just haven't recruited quick players.
All right.
By the way, can I say a quick cheerio to Seba? He's been making a lot of comments and
Yes. Yep.
encouraging the chat to give us a few likes, and he's always got something very, very intelligent to say on the chat. So good on you, Seba.
And Jimmy R, yes, I am okay, mate. I think I got a lash in my eye, mate. It's doing me eye.
Looks like he hasn't slept in a week.
No, I'll tell you what.
The Olympics are on.
Exactly. No. I had
I've
long,
been hearing that he's been sleeping in the studio at the SEN studios in Southbank.
long night and long morning. I'll give you the tip. It was a long day. So, rightio. Shall we move on to your votes? I know we don't have slides, but
we're an hour in, so let's get on to the votes.
I've got I'll tell you what I've got. I've got the leaderboard from last week.
Okay, let's put that up.
I can put this up. So this is the leaderboard from last week, and I'm assuming Cripps got the full votes from everybody.
I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I'm not. No, I don't think we normally go to Rhys first. So even though we haven't got we haven't got anything up because Joe couldn't unfortunately prepare anything today for us.
All right, chat.
So Rhys, what are your 3, 2, 1?
Let us know what your 3, 2, 1s are in the chat as well. Let us know. David, fire away.
I give 3 votes to George Hewitt, to be honest. I thought George Hewitt was, I thought he was very, very good. He had a bit of a job in controlling Dacos. I was watching that at a number of stoppages and that, so obviously he had a bit of a role there to play and did it reasonably well, because I don't think Dacos hurt us in the stoppage area that much. I think Pendle probably hurt us a bit more than Dacos.
He did.
Getting the ball and getting it out. 2 votes I gave to Jacob Wiedering. And I just think Wieders is just an absolute superstar. He just does everything right back there. He leads by example, and we'd be getting flogged by many more goals if it wasn't for Jacob Wiedering.
And you know what, Rhys? Can I just interrupt you there before you give us your 3 votes? With Wiedering, did you see that bit of play where he centered the ball in towards the middle? How brilliant was that? It reminded me of that kick that he did in the final last year.
We need more of it.
I think he kicked it to Ollie Hollands, and then Hollands kicked it to Sam Doherty in that final against Melbourne. I mean, Jacob Wiedering, he's like the general back there, isn't he? He's just such a steady influence.
Is. And going and being there and watching him live, he's just if you just concentrate and watch what he does, the little things he's doing all the time, he never gets outmarked, or very rarely. Anyway.
I'll tell you what. Didn't Daniel McStay from Collingwood have the same sort of nightmares that poor old Charlie Dixon had last week from Port Adelaide? I mean, anyone who comes up against Wiedering must have the nightmares leading into the game.
Yep, and he outmarks them time after time. It's ridiculous. But anyway, and I did give Cripps 1 vote. I did sneak him in for 1 vote, and mainly because I thought his second and third quarters. I just thought he went a bit missing, Cripper, and he's the one who's got to lead by example and play the 4 quarters, out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we rate him that highly though. He only gets the 1 vote.
We do. Vince, your votes?
Yes, well, I hope the umpires this year aren't as tough on him as what we are, because I really believe in my veins that Patrick Cripps is going to win the Brownlow this year. I really do. I just cannot see anyone else who's been more consistent, whether his side actually wins or loses. And I think he'll be polling 3 votes in a lot of games that we actually don't win.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I gave 1 vote to George Hewitt for all the reasons that Rhys said. I thought he was very good all night. He got lots of the ball himself, and he was very efficient with his use of the ball. And I think that was one of his better games this year. How they could have left him out of the team, whatever it was, 3 and 4 weeks ago, and then him sent him back to the VFL where he got about 34 possessions. I mean, that's
bewildering.
I don't know. The selection committee really has a lot to answer for as far as I'm concerned at the moment. Even their selection of Matt Kennedy as a sub, I thought, in the end, as it turns out, Chera came off injured and Kennedy came on, so it was a bit of a
He was
like for
good,
like.
though. He was good when he came on.
But when he came on, he was so good, wasn't he?
Kennedy may not be as flashy as a guy like Cherry.
Yeah.
Hewitt may not be as flashy as a guy like Cherry, but you know what they are?
They're
Reliable.
dependable.
Yeah.
They are reliable and dependable, correct.
Yeah.
2
so
and 3,
I gave
Vince?
so I gave 1 to George. Yes, I gave 2 to Nick Newman. I thought he was really good. Again, had lots of the ball, very efficient with it. You know, got into some of the Collingwood players' faces at times. Yeah, he was the sort of guy that was doing his bit down back to stem the tide. The fact that they only scored 12 goals in the end is probably testament to our defence, and he was one of the key pillars of that defence, I thought, along with Wiedering. And by the way, apologies to Jacob Wiedering for not fitting him into the votes, but I just felt that Newman had a lot more of the play and a lot more of the ball. And I actually gave 3 votes to Patrick Cripps. I thought he was the one player who showed more leadership, more dare, more will for the contest, and just week after week, it's the same. It's almost the same playbook, Paul. He's the one that's saying, "Come on, guys, come with me." You know, you can just almost see the language that his actions are talking to you, saying, "Come on, guys, let's go." Even in that last quarter, when we got to less than a goal behind, and then in the end, when that mark was taken by McGovern, you saw Cripps with actually a grin on his face, like, "Yes, here it is. We can win this."
Embrace it.
And in the end, now the kick didn't go through, so disappointing. But Cripper was almost like had the grin on his face, because I think he thought, yes, all of this hard work's finally paid off. We might just pinch this.
Yeah.
But look, I've got so much time for him. He's grown as a person, as a player, as a captain, as a leader of men. I just don't know what else he's got to do to get the rest of this team to follow him and start playing in a similar manner. Because if all of them played even 50% like he does, we'd be an unbeatable team.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Did you need my votes, or has Joe got his?
Yeah, well, I don't know what Joe's are. Joe didn't send me his votes, but yeah, give us yours. And next week we'll add Joe's to what Rhys and I have done. Yeah,
mine won't count to this leaderboard, but for what it's worth, I know
for what it's worth,
people value the opinions, which is good.
Absolutely, we do.
I went 1 to Elijah Hollins, who I thought was really good in this game. I really like what he's offering our team.
Yeah. He did well last week too.
Yeah, he really did. I went 2 to George Hewitt, and I went 3 to the captain Patrick Cripps. So that's how I pinned my votes.
Fantastic. Yep.
So,
well, isn't it funny how regular the same names keep popping up, Reese? Yeah. I mean, it's the Wiederings, it's the Crippses, it's the Hewitts, and occasionally you get Kennedy in there, but geez. Last week, for all that Charlie was so good last week, he was just totally missing in such a big game, and it's just so disappointing that he couldn't exert any authority at all on this game.
Yeah, and I think that's the sad thing, where the same names are coming up week in, week out. I'd love to have an Ollie Hollins or a who do you go through? Harry Mackay. Well, we've had Harry. Harry's been all right this year. But
Harry's been pretty good this year. To be
Cottrell
fair.
on that. I mean, Cottrell on that would have got votes last year. You would have thrown different blokes in there. They haven't. They just haven't stood up. A lot of those.
It's got to be spread amongst the team. It's got to be spread amongst the team.
They've got to. They've got to take their chances when they're running hot. So.
Isn't it funny how, by the way, guys, isn't it funny how not one of us has even mentioned the name Sam Walsh, and he got 30 possessions? He got 30 possessions, 18 kicks and 12 hand passes, laid 6 tackles, took 10 marks, and not one of us has even rated him in the votes. Because
he was good in the last quarter, but I felt we didn't get enough influence out of him in the first 3.
But a bit like last week, Paul, last week his disposal efficiency was around 52%. This week at 66%. 2/3 of his 30 possessions are okay, but the other third,
and a lot of that is because he's not able to break clear at the moment. You can just see he's just not right. He's just not right. Opposition teams are putting a lot of time into him. But that's because he's not right, and he is so dangerous. But he's not running as freely as what he was earlier in the year. So he's out there trying his guts out, and I'll give him a lot of credit for that.
Well, David, we know time is of the essence.
Yep.
Hang on. By the way, Paul, before you let him go, he's got to give us his Spirit of Carlton Award.
Carlton Award, yeah, and that does go to Elijah Hollins for all the reasons
there we go
earlier on, and he gets that award this week, and his goals were good, and I think he's going to be a terrific player for us for a long. And I thought Ollie was pretty good last night too. I thought he was. So those two boys, those brothers, hopefully are long-term Carlton players.
And let's preview. Let's give it predictions for next week. Very good.
I'd love to say, with the amount of confidence I've had previously, but I've got absolutely no confidence in our team and the way we're coached and the way we're picked and selected and everything. So I'll just say I hope we win by 4 or 5 goals, which I think we've got enough ability, and we're probably a 4 or 5 goal team, better than Hawthorn are on paper. So that's how I'm going to leave it. And anything less than that is a poor game.
Hey, Rhys, not that we want to encourage our viewers to gamble or anything, but can I just mention the odds on this game? Before Hawthorn lost to GWS today by only 2 points, I couldn't believe my eyes that Carlton were the outsiders at $2 this morning.
Correct.
And Hawthorn were about $1.85, I think it might have been.
They were. Yep.
And now Carlton's come into favourite at $1.90 and Hawthorn's at $1.94. So, I mean, they're almost equal favourites, really. I mean, you wouldn't separate them by more than a point in the betting at the moment. But, after Carlton's loss, it looked like the market didn't want to know us. $2 you could have got for Carlton.
Can you name 10 Hawthorn players?
I'd struggle. I probably could, but I'd struggle. Yeah,
There you go.
But what does that say about Sam Mitchell's preparedness to ship off some old dead wood, and say a Jager O'Meara, a Tom Mitchell to Collingwood, Jager O'Meara to Fremantle? Those guys haven't exactly set the world on fire since leaving Hawthorn, and yet they've given a lot of young blokes an opportunity, and they're really taking that bit between the teeth and making it happen, aren't they?
That's the way to set it up, though. That's that's the way you got to move on. We unfortunately haven't got any ones to move on. The ones who are there are the ones we sort of are placing the faith in, and that's who we've looked at and said, well, this is going to be the nucleus of our next premiership team, and it should be too. And it's going to be a very disappointing era in the Carlton Football Club if we don't walk away with a premiership with the talent we do have there now.
So it's a 1:10 game at the MCG on Sunday, the early game, if you like. So who do you think's suited by those conditions? It's at the MCG. Hawthorn played very well there. They've knocked over a lot of top teams there in the last couple of years, including Collingwood on a couple of occasions, and I think the Brisbane Lions. They beat both of last year's grand finalists. I think they were the only team last year to actually beat both of the grand final teams at the MCG.
Actually, it's 160th year's celebration they got next week, and they've actually got a lot of us past Carlton, and Carlton. A lot of us past players are actually going to be forming a guard of honour for the team running onto the ground. So,
well, that's great.
I might have to bite my lip, but then again, I might one or two of them know about it on the way out.
We're going to be wearing our heritage Guernsey as well next week. So,
well, Rhysy, who could ever forget that magnificent game you played 37 years ago only against Dermot Brereton in the 1987 grand final? It was an era when Carlton and Hawthorn were really quite fierce rivals through the 80s, and who could ever forget that result on a blisteringly hot day in September? So no doubt you've got good memories of playing against Hawthorn.
Yeah, and I might take Sandra's advice and give him a few home truths on as they're running out there. But look, it's going to be a massive game. So we lose that, we're out. We won't play finals. We won't play finals.
Yeah,
if we lose it,
waste of a year it'll be.
Yeah. So if we lose it, do we not play finals? You really think that? Because we only play, I think, West Coast over there and St Kilda over here.
Last round,
Really? Geez, they got
Yeah.
belted by Brisbane today.
Doesn't matter.
124 to
At least
39.
they'll have a go.
They will have a go. That's true.
We have to win. There's no if, buts, or maybes here.
I'm
We
sure
have to
nothing
win.
would please Ross Lyon and Stephen Silvani more than
Yeah.
knocking off Carlton in the last round if they can manage
Yep.
that. I don't know how they'll manage it, but anyway.
Let's
They'll have
worry
an
about
18
this.
man
Let's worry
defence.
about this Sunday
Yeah.
first,
Let's get
shall
over
we?
the Hawks. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's hope.
All right.
Thank you,
just hope
David.
this- Let's hope that Michael Voss gives them a decent spray tomorrow night at training or tomorrow day, and they pull their finger out and do what they can do.
Mm.
Thanks, guys.
Hard agree.
Go the Blues.
Good on
Thank you,
Reece.
David. Appreciate
Thanks,
it, mate. Thank you very
All the
much.
best.
There we go. David
There
Rhys-Jones. Bang! Right between the eyes, Vince.
Right between the
Right
eyes,
between
exactly.
the eyes.
Well,
Okay.
Paul, what we normally
what?
do at this point is that we go over the results of all the other games that were played over this round. So I'll quickly go through those for you,
Let's do it.
even though we haven't got the results on screen. First of all, of course, on Friday night, we saw the Western Bulldogs. My God, the juggernaut just keeps on rolling, doesn't it?
It
15
does.
goals, 20. They could have even smashed Melbourne by a lot more than the 51 points that they won by. 15 goals, 20, 110 to Melbourne's 9-5-59. I thought that should have been at least a 70 to 80 point win, the way they completely
Complete
dominated the
domination.
Demons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Good call. Good call.
And on the same night, when the Gold Coast Suns were, I guess, uniformly tipped to finally get their first away win for the season, what happened? They fell down at the final hurdle, and you've got to give credit to West Coast. They certainly did perform very well there in that last quarter and gave Jared Schofield his first victory as a coach. And they won 15-7-97 to the Gold Coast Suns, 13-9-87. And I reckon Dimmer, Damien Hardwick, would be scathing after that game. So I reckon that's, if there was any doubt about whether they could make the finals, it's definitely all gone now. I think Gold Coast, you can put a line through them. The next games were on Saturday, and North Melbourne in the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers. I actually happened to look at this game. I've never seen more disposal errors in all my life. But it was a case of who was going to perform worst rather than who was going to perform best. And North Melbourne got their third win of the season, 14-6-90, defeating Richmond, a very inaccurate Richmond that really should have won the game, 10-17-77. 20 scoring shots to the winning team, 27 scoring shots to the losing team. Bad kicking
is bad football.
That's it.
Correct.
So then
As we
we
found
go
out
over
last
to
night.
Exactly. Then we go to Cardinia Park, or what's now known as GMHBA Stadium, and this was a really good game of football. I watched all of this, and what resilience Geelong showed at home. But geez, Adelaide Crows know how to lose games, don't they? They've pinched a couple against one of them against us this year, and one of them against Essendon. But
when you give them no hope, they win.
Yeah, and when you think they probably should win at some point, they were quite well in front going into, I think, halfway through the last quarter, and for some reason they just stopped, and Geelong got over the top of them. So 13-12-90 to Adelaide Crows, 13-7-85, a 5-point win to Geelong, and that really entrenches them in the top 6 on the ladder. Then, of course, we had our game, which we've gone over. So other than that one, the other game on Saturday night was Port Adelaide absolutely annihilating the top team on the ladder, the Sydney Swans, at the Adelaide Oval. 22-16, 148. Thank you very much. 38 scoring shots to 11. 5 goals, 6.
Yep.
36. And at one stage in the second quarter, Port Adelaide was 70-0.
Crazy.
Have you ever seen that anywhere before? I haven't. If I have, I can't remember it.
Yeah, neither can
70-0.
Maybe a local league game.
John Longmire must be thinking, what has happened to my team?
Well, exactly.
I know they're missing Tom Papley, but gee whiz,
No, that had nothing to do with him.
No. But I've always said, even when they were on top of the ladder, I do question whether they've got the structure and the the key position strength on the ground to actually be as forceful in the finals as what a lot of people thought they were just home and hose, making the grand final. Well, not quite so home and hose. And in fact, now they run the risk, a very serious risk, of losing not only top spot on the ladder, but maybe even top 2.
Yeah, well, it actually is looking that way at the moment. The way
and they've got a big game against Collingwood this Friday night in Sydney.
Huge test.
All right. So then today we had 2 great contests. and one annihilation. You've got to give GWS credit. They were behind pretty much for the entire match and only just got over the line with the last goal of the game. 12-12-84 to Hawthorn, who must be licking their wounds after that. They probably thought at three-quarter time, oh, well, we're 28 points in front. We should coast to victory here. They got nutted. 12-10-82. That'll sting, and I reckon that'll make them even harder to beat next week against us. So that did not. Well, that did us no favours. And GWS, I should say, took our 7th spot and then relegated us to 8th on the ladder. Then, of course, we had the 1-point thriller that I was at this afternoon with Tanya watching Essendon 13. Well, she was just, she was so in the shits about halfway through the last quarter. I said, don't worry. They haven't got enough of a lead to be guaranteed to win the game. If you just get 10 minutes worth on your terms, you might actually come storming home. And that's exactly what happened.
Correct.
Unbelievable victory to keep their finals hopes alive. Essendon 13-12-90 to the Fremantle Dockers. They must be looking at each other thinking, what the hell happened? 14-5-89. They kicked one more goal, but Essendon kicked a lot of points. So they end up falling short by a point. And what could have been a top 4 spot on the ladder has now seen them fall down to below the top 4 now. I think they're in 5th or 6th position. So that's the result of losing that game. And then, of course, we saw the Brisbane Lions absolutely smash St Kilda today. I was actually very surprised with that because I thought St Kilda had shown quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. But
they have.
The Brisbane Lions are absolutely on a roll. Who would have thought this when they were down in that bottom 5 or 6 on the ladder?
They're flying at the moment.
But anyway,
Premiership favourite now.
Yeah, 19 goals, 10, 124 to St Kilda. A hapless St Kilda, 5 goals, 9, 39. And Brisbane, the juggernaut is just continuing at the moment.
It is indeed.
So then we go to the ladder?
Yeah, let's go to the ladder, shall we? Go from first to last, or we'll do the go through the top 8
I'll just quickly
first.
go through that. We've got Sydney still on top, but gee whiz, they're only half a game ahead now and only 1% too.
Correct.
Their percentage took an absolute hammering because of that 112-point loss.
Whittled away. It's all whittled away.
So now they're on 56 and a percentage of 126.1. Brisbane in second, 54 points and percentage of 125.1. So they're only 1% behind and half a game, Brisbane. If Sydney drop that game to Collingwood next week and Brisbane happen to win, we're going to see the first team change at the top of the ladder since probably very early in the season. Port Adelaide, another half a game behind Brisbane and 1 full game behind Sydney. They're on 52. As well as that, GWS are now in the top 4. So, Paul, all interstate teams in the top 4.
Isn't it? Absolutely.
So, Port Adelaide and GWS on 52. Also closely followed by Geelong, also on 52. And their percentage is not that much less than Port Adelaide and GWS. Fremantle, that loss today sees them slip to 8th on the ladder, still on 50 points. They should still make the finals, you'd think. 116.7. But nothing's for certain. They're only a game ahead of the team that's 9th. So they wouldn't want to take anything for granted. Western Bulldogs have managed to find their way into the 8. 48 points, a very healthy percentage of 122.4. And Carlton now slipped to 8th on the ladder, hanging on by our fingernails, a percentage of 112.1 and now only half a game ahead of Essendon on 46. Then in 10th position after losing today by only 2 points is Hawthorn, who we play next week. They're on 44, as well as Collingwood, who's on 44. And they're only out on percentage as well. So really, you'd probably draw a line there. Mathematically, Melbourne could make it, but, geez, they haven't been in good form. I think they've lost their last 3. You wouldn't you wouldn't be putting any money on them to make the 8. Mathematically, they could still make it if they won their last 3 in good fashion, but I can't see it happening. They're on 40, Gold Coast on 36, St Kilda 32, Adelaide 30, and then quite a gap to West Coast, who had a very good win on Friday night. They're up to 16 points now. North Melbourne also had a good win over Richmond. They're now up to 12. And Richmond, right on the bottom of the ladder, 1 game behind and percentage behind North Melbourne on 8 points. So I think we can probably safely put a line through 12th down, from Melbourne down, and really the others are the ones to keep your eyes on in terms of making the 8. Down to Collingwood, who still have some chance on 44 points, but geez, they've got a tough draw to finish.
I want to do something. I just want to see if I can share the screen here just quickly. If we can,
okay.
Let's see if we can manage something here.
All right.
Let's do this, shall we? So,
I have no idea what you're doing.
Can we see that? There we go. How's that? We can all see that? Okay, beautiful.
Very good.
Right.
So you got ladder predictions, have you?
We have a ladder predictor here, ladies and gentlemen. So
this is interesting.
Let's all do this together, shall we?
I'll let you take over here.
Right. So we can see the current ladder. We can see it there. There it is.
Yep.
Right. We can see the current ladder. So let's do it from now till the end of the season. Let's do a little powwow here on a Sunday night. But before we do all of that, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the Jumper Punch stage show, 31st of August. Make sure you go buy your tickets, trybooking.com. I'll have the graphic up once we finish doing this. So make sure you go and buy your tickets, ladies and gentlemen, trybooking.com. Get them now, get in fast. Get them now, get in fast. All right, let's start. Sydney versus Collingwood. What's the chat saying? What are we thinking, everybody? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. Let's try and quick fire our way. I think Sydney will bounce back.
They have to, don't they?
I think Sydney will bounce back.
But I'll tell you what, Paul, there's not too many teams that lose by over 100 points that recover the next week, even just psychologically, and come out and win. Now, they're going to have to beat last year's premiers, who generally travel pretty well. I mean, Collingwood have got a pretty good record interstate. I think it's going to be a very close game.
I think the chat's saying Sydney, so we'll lock in Sydney.
All right.
Brisbane v GWS. You can't tip against Brisbane at the moment.
Well, you'd probably have to throw Brisbane in there because really they're just playing insatiable football.
Yeah. Let's go with Brisbane. With this game doesn't really mean much, so we'll go with North.
Yep.
Fremantle versus Geelong. Thoughts, everybody?
That's a very interesting game. And Geelong are also a team that can travel well. And Fremantle looked brittle to me today. They looked at times today they looked clearly the most skillful and most dynamic side today against Essendon, but they just couldn't put it on the scoreboard and get far enough in front to make it a match-winning lead. And Essendon came at them hard late, and they managed to make them panic. And I'll give full marks to Essendon today. They really fought back like a side who's got some intestinal fortitude. And I'll give them credit where credit's due. I know we don't like them, but I thought that they performed brilliantly to come back and win that game.
I'm going to go with Freo just based on the chat. This game
it's
here,
it's at home for Freo. They should win.
Gold Coast versus Essendon after today. I'll tell you what, and I know
definitely Essendon.
No
question.
I can just see a narrative, right? And this is the way Essendon's season has gone. They beat Freo at the MCG. They go to Marvel Stadium, and I can envisage the headlines, Vince. Gold Coast records first away win for season 2024, right?
No, I don't think. There's no evidence, Paul.
Hang on. I can just see every Essendon supporter and everybody blowing up. It just stinks of that.
Yes. I know what you're saying, but let's be honest. There's no evidence to support Gold Coast winning against anybody at the moment if it's away from their home ground.
So let's tip Essendon.
I think you've got to go with Essendon. They've still got a good chance to finish in the 8. There's enough incentive there for them, that's for sure.
Yep. Melbourne v Port Adelaide. This is a tricky game for Port Adelaide. Very
tricky. Very. I actually think Melbourne will be up to their ears in this game.
Okay. All right, chat. Let us know. Melbourne or Port?
But they've got too many good quality players out of that team at the moment, and
Yep.
I think Port should play well enough to get over the line. They've shown that they can play well. Well, 2 weeks ago they beat us, so
Yep.
you know you'd have to tip Port. I think
we'll lock in Carlton here. Richmond, St Kilda. Who cares? Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Adelaide versus the Western Bulldogs. I think Adelaide will give them trouble, but geez, you can't tip against the Doggies at the moment.
I agree. And I think the Doggies are also going to. They had a poor performance against Port Adelaide earlier, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was probably their last loss, actually.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be keen to atone at the Adelaide Oval this time against Adelaide Crows, who seem to be a bit brittle.
Do Sydney continue their winning run if they beat Collingwood? Sydney will go in favourite.
I think Sydney's got to go in favourite.
Sydney's a bit more trustworthy than the Bombers. Gold Coast v Melbourne at Sun Stadium, People First Stadium.
Gold Coast.
We've got to go Gold Coast.
Yeah.
GWS and the Dockers at NG Stadium. I think the Giants at home.
Yeah, I think
this
so.
is an interesting game here. Very, very interesting. The Pies and the Lions at the MCG, 4:35 p.m. Do the Lions get Collingwood back? Do they get them back after that grand final defeat?
I think so.
Okay, so let's go with the Lions.
And I also think Collingwood's going to have a few injuries as a result of last night. DeGoey won't play again for the rest of the year. They've got a few others that are a bit banged up. I do wonder.
I've got one for you.
Yep.
Collingwood will not win a game for the rest of the season. It's just going to happen. You can just
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
It'd make me even more angry.
Next,
Port Adelaide against Adelaide showdown.
Oh, we got another showdown, have we?
Derby, Port, maybe.
Who won the first one? Who won the first one this year? I think it might have been Adelaide. I think Adelaide comprehensively beat them, to be honest.
I've got a feeling that they may have, actually.
Yeah, I think it was.
I can't remember off the top of my head now.
Can anyone tell us on the chat?
Let us know, chat. What did Port Adelaide?
Who won the first showdown this year? I'm pretty sure Adelaide smashed them, to be honest.
That's a good question. I actually got no idea. Yeah, Adelaide by 5 goals. It was.
There you go.
I know Port kicked. Oh, that's right. Port kicked inaccurately that night.
Yes,
they kicked. They kicked 5-18. We'll go with Port.
They're second on the ladder or third on the ladder for a reason. So I think we think that they'll try and even the score up for the season and have a win this time.
St Kilda and Geelong.
You got to go Geelong. You got to go Geelong.
We'll lock in the Bulldogs here. We'll probably lock in Hawthorn against Fremantle. I'd assume we'll lock in Carlton against West Coast, and then we come to the final round. I'm just going to lock in all of Carlton's wins because no one's going to tip.
Yeah, that's fine.
So let's do that, shall we?
The last
Brisbane to beat Essendon at the Gabba, I think, is a fait accompli.
Yep.
Geelong v West Coast. I think Geelong will clearly win that. We'll go with Hawthorn over North. This is an interesting game. I don't think it'll have any relevance on the finals, but we'll lock in Melbourne.
Melbourne versus Collingwood.
They can't make the 8.
Are you going to go Melbourne or Collingwood?
We'll go with it. Won't. I don't think it will have any relevance given the.
I think Melbourne will try and finish it off. Yep.
Richmond and Gold Coast. The Gold Coast get their first win away when it doesn't mean much.
Oh God.
Let's lock in Gold Coast. Dimmer against his mob.
To be honest, I would not be surprised if Richmond actually finished the year on a winning note.
One, isn't it? A weird one. Yeah. This is an interesting game here at Mars Stadium, Ballarat. Bulldogs v Giants. This is the one I want the chat to have a chat about here. This is the one I want to get the chat's opinion about. GWS or the Bulldogs at Mars Stadium in Ballarat. Ebbers go on the Giants. Peter V's go on the Dogs. Rich is going the Dogs. Sandra is going the Dogs. Jonathan is going the Dogs. Lou is going the Dogs.
I think we've got to put the Dogs in there. I think the Victorian-based home ground will suit the Dogs, but GWS are used to travelling anywhere and everywhere. They go to that many different locations every year. It's not funny.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a real rip snorter of a game.
Let's lock in the Doggies.
Yeah.
Let's go with Sydney to beat
Sydney
Adelaide.
To beat Adelaide, yep.
And then the last game of the season, Fremantle taking on the Port Adelaide Power. We'll have to lock in.
That's at Freo. That's in Perth.
Yeah, let's lock in Freo, shall we?
Okay.
So, should all that pan out?
Who finishes where? And does it depend on... The other thing is,
Let's do this. Ready?
It's one thing to predict winners. What about percentage? Percentage is going to come into it, isn't it?
It is. So we'll just go the win and loss for now. Percentage will come into it. Let's have a look at what the first week of finals looks like.
Yeah.
There you go.
So first versus fourth. So Carlton will finish fourth. Okay.
Yeah.
So
if results go the way we think they will.
So Brisbane will be the other team that has a home game against the Doggies. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yep.
So that's predicting the Doggies to finish third. Wow.
Yep. So say we have a result
and then
go
what?
our
You
way.
You got Freo versus GWS? Is that right?
Yes. So regardless of what happens, if Carlton is to win all its games, I think we will be on the road for...
Hang on, is that Freo versus GWS or is that Port Adelaide?
Port Adelaide.
Port Adelaide versus GWS, okay.
At Adelaide Oval.
And then what do you got? Geelong versus Freo down in probably at Cardinia Park.
Correct. So I think at, best case scenario, if we are to get that double chance, we will be on the road to either Sydney or the Gabba.
Do you know what, Paul? If that is how it turns out, that Geelong game will have to be at the MCG.
Yes.
Because it'll be the only Victorian-based final.
Yep. And the only way we can obviously finish third is if at this point in time the Bulldogs drop a game.
Yes.
And we win all ours. So that's
is there no chance of us finishing top two now? Is that
highly doubted unless Sydney, Brisbane and Bulldogs decide to drop all their games and we win all of ours. It's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely.
So it's a very likely scenario that we'll have to travel somewhere, whether it's Sydney, whether it's Queensland, or whether it's WA.
Yeah, more than likely. So,
maybe even Adelaide.
Regardless, Vince, what we need to do as a football club now is win our final 3 games, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
It's just whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
That's it now.
Yeah.
That's where we have to be, and maybe that will be the circuit breaker for us. But now we're in a mode of whatever happens, happens. So,
well, we have our final segment of the night, which is Vince's verdict. That's the one. Hang on. Joe normally puts on the judge's hammer going down, so I'll try and do it from here. Order in the court.
Order.
Yes, look, I won't take too much time tonight because we've already gone an hour and 37. But look, I'm just going to touch on a couple of things quickly, and then I'll give you my actual verdict, which I would love to get your opinion on. And I chose this. One of the reasons for it is because you are involved in the media in quite a big way. Now, before I'm going to talk about the media issue, not that I'm watching any of it, but I couldn't help but notice in all of the news headlines that we saw an absolutely despicable scenario during the week.
Yes.
Where a female Italian boxer lasted only 46 seconds in the ring against a man, a biological man with X and Y chromosomes who's been previously banned from competing in the World Championships last year. Yes. And for some unknown reason this year is eligible, thanks to the International Olympic Committee, as woke as they are, is able to compete in the Olympics. And if you have a look at this creature, you cannot tell me it doesn't look masculine, and doesn't have a body of someone who's masculine. And apparently one of the other reasons that he got, I'll say he, as far as I'm concerned, that he got banned from the World Championships last year was because the testosterone levels were through the roof, and it was akin to a female athlete on steroids, which if a female athlete was on steroids, she'd be banned. I thought that was absolutely disgusting. And the other thing is, not not long after, only a couple of days later, a Chinese Taipei boxer
Yes.
did exactly the same thing. Competed against another boxer from, was it Uzbekistan or one of those? And
Not too
again,
sure.
absolutely overwhelmed his opponent. And the fact that we are allowing men, biological men, and that's the definition of a man as far as I'm concerned, someone who has XY chromosomes. Women only have XX chromosomes. And anyone who tries to say it's any different to that is delusional. You can try and tell me that, oh, no, they identify as a woman. Bullshit. I don't even care whether this athlete has a birth certificate that says that he is a female. As far as I'm concerned, he's a male. He has X and Y chromosomes. Full stop. This should not be happening. And in our so-called biggest competition, sporting competition in the world that happens once every 4 years, is being hijacked by political correctness, wokeness, and absolute disgusting decisions by an Olympic committee, which, as far as I'm concerned, has ruined the Olympics forever by allowing this to take place. I think there's a lot of people like me who are just writing off the Olympics as a joke and not interested anymore. And fair dinkum, I'm not. I haven't watched a minute of it, and I'm not intending to watch any of it either. And the other thing I noticed, by the way, Paul, just on another side issue to do with the Olympics, I noticed another news article saying that the Australian Olympians had to jump up and down and basically crack the shits with their organisers because they didn't have enough meat and eggs and things like that because they were pushing a vegan diet.
Is that right?
A vegan diet onto all of the athletes. How ridiculous. They need protein. They need iron. All of these things come from meat. And meat and vegetables and starchy foods like potatoes, etc., and eggs. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They're meant to be competing in the Olympics and having their energy levels at a peak, and yet they're going starving because they're pushing a vegan diet onto them. Oh, my God. What is this world coming to? Anyway, enough about the Olympics. They're an absolute joke. They're a disgrace. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, they've lost me and they've lost millions around the world because of all these issues. The other thing I wanted to actually make my verdict about this week, Paul.
Was that not the verdict, was it?
No, that wasn't the verdict. That was just an entree. That was an entree to the main course.
Okay, all right, here we go, main course.
So here comes the main course. And by the way, it's not a vegan main course. It's a full-on Italian main course, okay?
Right, yes.
The AFL.
Yes.
The woke AFL.
Right.
Apparently, as reported by Tom Morris during the week, they have brought out a policy and they are now insisting on a condition being written into their next media rights agreement that all commentary and commentators working on AFL games, they are insisting to the broadcasters that they tick all of the inclusion and diversity boxes. So as far as I can see, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's got nothing to do with choosing the best person for the job anymore. It's got nothing to do with choosing people on merit. It's all got to do with, we have to have an Indigenous person. We have to have a woman, at least one of each of these categories, I would have thought. We have to have gay people. We have to have all these other minorities represented, Aboriginal and Indigenous, etc. Well, how many different minorities do you want to cater for? What about Italians? What about Greeks? What about Lebanese? What about Indians? What about Japanese? I mean, these people have all played. People of all of those heritages have played the game of AFL football. So where do you want to draw the line, AFL? Or are you only going to draw them at the minorities that make the loudest noises, which, as far as I'm concerned, in this country, are the Indigenous and the LGBT community? So where are you going to draw the line? Now, I'd love to get your opinion on this because I think that is a disgrace that they introduce a clause like that into a media agreement. It should be up to the broadcasters to choose who they want, the people that they think are best to represent them and the game, when they decide to employ people, whether it be TV or radio or any other sort of media that covers the game of AFL football. Now I'll pass it over to you, and you can give me your views.
Yeah, well, I completely disagree with the idea that people should be selected in a role based on their identity. There has to be meritocracy in decisions, and you'd think multi-billion-dollar industries and multi-million-dollar businesses would be trusted to make the decisions based on the right person for the job, and that there's a reason that these places are multi-billion-dollar successfully run businesses, because they do make right decisions when they hire the right people.
Well, wouldn't they want to make it the very best people to justify their
of course.
What is it going to be, over $2 billion the next media rights agreement? Surely
you go down and I believe this to be true, you go down a very, very dangerous path when you begin to enact on businesses and begin to enact on employability based on identity and based on what
color of your skin.
Yeah, based on because these people, or because certain identities and because certain groups have, in inverted commas, not been a part of broadcasts. The problem with that is that people believe that it is because of a discrimination, or it is because people don't care about them, or it is because that people think that it's a boys club, and not necessarily that. Yeah,
all white males are the only commentators that commentate on the game. What a lot of rubbish.
There is people believe that to be the case, that people are hired, and what they see on the TV is based on the fact that their appearance is what they have been hired for, and because their appearance is of a certain area and of a certain realm that they believe not to be afflicted by social issues or injustice, that because that's the case, they get a bigger and better opportunity. And that may very well be the case to a certain point of view. But for me, and my opinion, is that you go down a very, very dangerous path when you start to quite literally employ people based on prejudice. And there's absolutely no doubt about that. So I think from my point of view, and this would just be, just a hypothetical. If I was to go, and apply for a job in a commentary gig or a sports presentation gig on whatever channel it may be, broadcasting AFL. If I was to go in and I had the credentials and I had worked my way up and worked my way with a lot of experience under my belt, and I thought I was competent and great at doing the job, and then it got to a point where the manager and the employer had to make a decision between me or someone else, and then they had to make the decision based on somebody else because of their identity, I would be going straight to the Human Rights Commission. And I'd be saying I've been discriminated against because I don't fit the mold of identity. And that's what I would be doing straight away. And because...
Well, that's what it smacks of now. Because they are going to knock people back who would otherwise probably get the job purely because they don't tick one of the boxes Vince, that are yet to be filled.
Vince, I couldn't help.
Bloody ridiculous.
Vince, I and you and everybody in the world can't help who their parents are.
No.
It's an ovarian lottery, right? And for me, for the AFL to go down that path is and I try to remove all emotion when I look at these issues and these type of decisions, and I think they are playing with a very, very dangerously lit fire. And I think going down this path is, and people also say that, the people that are being hired at the moment are actually not the best people to be hired. I know people are not exactly content with a lot of the commentary that's going on at the moment, and I understand, and you have to understand both sides of the argument, that there are people that are oppressed and there are people that potentially may not get into jobs and may not get areas of employment based on prejudice and based on their culture and background, right? But in Australia, I would think, without looking at the specific numbers, that is a very, very small part of our country that hires on, because this person is of a certain identity and this person is of a certain identity, that because this person's identity equals something that I don't like, even though he or she is competent at the job, I'm not going to pick him or her because of that. And that's not the way our country is run. That's not the way our businesses and sporting models are run. And I think people who say that, we are introducing these social inclusion clauses to help these people, I actually think they're not looking into the devil of the detail, unfortunately. And you go down a very, very dangerous path, I believe, when you start to implement these social inclusion clauses into employment. And I don't think, and people will say, society is changing, but society may be changing, but history doesn't lie, Vince. And when these ideas based on ideology are implemented into business without actually looking at business, you go down a very dangerous path. So I would loathe to think that there is a scenario where, a girl or a boy or a man or a female or whoever it may be gets to a point where they're going to a meeting to solidify their credentials for a job. And because a quota is not met, that the employer says, look, we really apologize, but we need to have X, Y, and Z in because we haven't met our quotas for X, Y, and Z. So you miss out. And I do believe that there are going, and if people are really serious about their employment, I believe that they're going to up a massive can of worms with regards to Human Rights Commission and being discriminated against at the workplace based on your identity. And people will say, but that's been happening for 100 to 150 years. I don't think that is the case in Australia now. And it may be the case for a very, very small minority of employers. I don't think that is, I don't believe that to be the case in the Western world. I don't believe that to be the case in Australia. I believe that we give everybody an opportunity, and I believe that we hire on competence, and I believe that we hire on meritocracy for the majority. And that's why, we have such a, in inverted commas, successful country, and we don't have people knocking at our doors, barging our doors down, civil unrest in the streets, people at war, people at each other's throats. The only time we see people at each other's throats is due to sport, and God bless that. God bless that.
Paul, I would have wholeheartedly agreed with you up until recently, because you're absolutely right about that, the way things have been in this country up until recently. Because what I've noticed is that, and I'll use the example here in the socialist utopia called Victoria, that even this government, this state government, imposes gender equality on things like boards of directors. Public work sites have to have a certain percentage of female employees. Whether they're any good at their job or not doesn't seem to come into it. But, even if they're just holding up the lollipops saying stop and slow, they get $200,000 a year for some of them for that, by the way. It's becoming a case of, do you tick all of the diversity boxes? Because no one seems to be putting any importance on whether people are actually good at their job anymore.
I think there is. Look, the majority of it, I think, is still that, and it will.
Do you know the AFL has actually told the football clubs that they have to have a certain minimum percentage of women on their boards of directors in order to get the Victorian government, I should say, has informed them that they have to have a certain percentage of female directors in order to get Victorian government funding for some of their infrastructure projects, like Carlton when we had the upgrade of our stand, etc. And that's one of the reasons why we now have 3 females on our 8-person board. Yeah, not because they were necessarily the right people for the job.
I don't agree with those policies.
That's why I'm saying that what you talk about, which is the Australia we've known and loved and grown up with, it's changing. It's in fact, it has changed. And this is a very dangerous tightrope that they're walking, the AFL now, by putting in clauses like this into a media agreement.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know about you, mate, but I just
No,
think it's a very, very disturbing development.
Yeah, it's not. Look, it's not an ideal scenario, but you just hope that.
Anyway,
you just hope that it doesn't unveil into something it shouldn't, which is.
Well, it shouldn't be costing someone like you, who, by the way, if I may say so, and it's not just because you're here, because you know I've said this about you many, many times before, but you are a very talented radio personality and a brilliant race caller and football caller. And if you were to not get the opportunities that I think you deserve in the media because of the fact that you don't tick all of the diversity boxes, that would be a travesty of justice. It would be just disastrous as far as I'm concerned. So anyway,
I mean, that's the case for anybody who would have to face that. But the thing is that would they really tell you that? That's why.
Of course, they're never going to admit it to you.
You can never hide anything. That's the thing. You can never hide anything.
I know. Anyway, mate, we're approaching 2 hours, so let's just quickly go over the shows that are coming up on the Jumper Punch channel this week, and then we'll say goodbye.
I want to show this before we do it. Have a look at this. YLT.
The TJP live show.
Number 2, 31st of August. Make sure you buy your tickets. Trybooking.com, sponsored by Blues Crypto. A fan token by Ur Token. He's the man.
A great man he is too.
And there it is. So download the Phantom Wallet app from the App Store. Join Blues Crypto Telegram. Mention the Jumper Punch. Share your Solana wallet address. And the great man Ur, he'll give you 10,000 tokens on the house. So
fantastic.
Make sure you do all of that if you're into your crypto and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go from there. So.
And don't forget, that's a Saturday night, and it's also in the pre-finals bye round. So the last round of the home and away season will have taken place the week before, and this is that weekend where everyone says, "Oh my God, I can't believe it! We've got no football." I think it'll be the start. I think it'll be the start of the AFLW season. So they're giving the AFL. By the way, that if anyone's wondering what AFLW stands for, it's AFL woke. And that season will get started that weekend. So they're giving them a bit of clear air to promote their opening round, and that's the Saturday night. I think the Carlton team plays on the Sunday against Hawthorn.
Yes,
so you can come along to the JP live show and watch Rocco do another stand-up routine, no doubt.
Apparently, Jimmy wants me to do some stand-up, so I'll maybe work on something. Enzo, maybe
you can do us a race call or a football call or something like that.
I'll figure something out. I'll definitely figure something out.
Hopefully, we're talking about who we're going to be playing in the first week of the finals by that stage. Fingers crossed.
Let's just beat Hawthorn this weekend.
Exactly.
All right. Vince, pleasure doing it with you, mate.
We've also got, just quickly coming up, the Jumper Punch on Tuesday night you normally start at 7 o'clock, don't you?
We do start at 7 o'clock, and I will be there on time this week.
Very good.
Yep.
On Wednesday night, we're going to have Rockin' the Burbs this week or not?
Yes, I need to message our special guest for tomorrow.
Right, very good.
So there will be a special guest for Rockin' All Over the Burbs.
Oh, excellent.
And he may or may not have worn Hawthorn colours in the past. So.
Very good. Followed by, of course, Forever Rivals. And the only, there's going to be 2 out of 4 that are going to be happy. That'll be Mark from Essendon and Manny from Collingwood. And I think Rocco will be licking his wounds having lost to Collingwood. And
double.
Not Manny, what's his name? Quinny will be on the losing side again with Richmond. But then, of course, we have double.
Yep.
That's tomorrow night, is it? From 8 o'clock. Okay.
Luca and Dylan doing a great job there.
Yes. Luca, and then we have, of course, Thursday night, the change room with Rash and Sam talking about, the mental side of life and the mental side of sport.
Indeed.
They are qualified to talk about all of that, of course. They are fantastic. And by the way, what a great night we had on Thursday night. All the Jumper Punch team together with Rash and myself and the 3 of you guys, Rocco, Mars and yourself, Paul, over at that lovely restaurant Mosaic in Toorak Road, South Yarra. Lovely Lebanese restaurant. and Bill Corbin, who would be no doubt watching. Big hello to you, Bill. His hospitality and generosity was enormous. I think on the Jumper Punch, we'll be probably putting up a few photos. I think Mars is going to show us some photos of what we did that night. So some of the cuisine, and we had a nice photo, all of us, at the end of the night. So
we did indeed.
And then, of course, Blue Sunday again next Sunday night at 7:30, and hopefully Joe will be back for that. But I've got to say, mate, thank you so much for filling in tonight. You've been tremendous.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Vince. And to everybody in the audience who tuned in and listened, who contributed to the live chat, much love. Thank you very much. And we'll see you throughout the channel over the coming days and nights.
Will do. All the best.
Hooroo, guys. Go Blues.
Go Blues.